Welcome back to a next Earth Day celebration by a Better World 2026. I want to welcome you all today. I'm your host, Mitchell J. Rabin, founder and president of A Better World, and we're sponsoring this event along with the ECOSOC NGO, the Institute of Global Education. While for those of us who are here, Earth Day is really every single day. We're celebrating this week to honor the special series of events that are happening all over the world, and of which we are very grateful to be part. We're here to honor Mother Earth and to celebrate our love and respect for her. We also would be remiss not to acknowledge that severe damage we humans have caused her, and we have done such damage to this precious, beautiful ecosystem. Today, it has come out that this current administration has authorized the U.S. Forestry Service to be relocated outside of Washington, D.C. to Utah, and in many respects dismantled, allowing millions upon millions of acres of our precious land to be logged and deforested, handed over to private economic interests. The good news is that there are millions and millions of people worldwide across the planet doing extraordinary things to restore Earth, to build community, and to repair the damage that has been done over the past several centuries. Our guest speakers, for instance, this evening are among the leaders of this wonderful and esteemed community of activists, of environmentalists, of healers, and we are grateful for all of your consistent and persistent work to repair this planet that you've been doing over the decades. We begin tonight with the Indigenous leader, Chief Phil Lane. I'll say a few words about him. Chief Phil has been with us for a number of years, actually, opening up and blessing our ceremony, our event. He's a prominent Indigenous leader and advocate for Native American rights. He is well known for his work in promoting cultural preservation and environmental sustainability. He's a sought-after speaker on topics related to Indigenous sovereignty and social justice. So I am hoping that Phil is among us, and I don't yet see him here. So I am not going to continue to speak, but I am very happy to see some of the speakers here now, some very dear friends for a long time. It's really wonderful. And so Itzhak Berry, who is another one of our shamanic leaders here, is come to be part of the closing ceremonies, but it might be that he is also needed for the opening ceremonies. So in that note, Itzhak, if you would kindly take over, that would be so appreciated if you were to step in here.
Well, it's a great pleasure and a great honor to be with you all. It's wonderful to see that so many people are feeling the call of Pachamama, Mother Earth, to come and protect the only mother we have. I was really taken by the returning astronauts who came from the moon. They were not really talking about any kind of technological achievement. They were talking about the new perspective that they had, looking at at our mother, the only mother we have, from a distant, and calling all of us to have a different perspective on peace and also on the scarcity and the enchantment that we have of the miracle of being alive on this planet. So I'd like to make a call for the four directions to invite them to come into our celebration. And I hope that we can create a sacred space for this beautiful event and honoring Pachamama, Mother Earth. Okay. So I call upon you the direction of the east, the direction of the rising sun, to bring us into beautiful view of the earth, of our life, of our possibility that every day we can reimagine, reinvent, and give birth for a new day. Aho. And I call upon you the direction of the west, the direction of the setting sun and the rising moon, Mama Kia, to come here into our space and reflect the sun of the light of the sun, or the light of Tata Inti, to guide us, to help us see in the darkness where we are now, to open space for us for reflection, for seeing the marvelous, beautiful universe that we are living in. Aho, and I want to call the direction of the south, the direction of Pachamama, Mother Earth, to come here into our circle to give us the ground that we need, the foundation that we need, so we can continue to live in our universe with prosperity, with beauty, and with abundance. Aho. And I want to call the spirit of the north, the spirit of our ancestors, to give us direction, to show us where we need to be, or to guide us. For many of us, our ancestors are is a concept, so not so much a reality. And I think that tapping into the wisdom and the teaching of our ancestors is the most important thing for right now, to find our direction. Aho. And I want to call the spirit of the above, the spirit, the spirit of the place of spirit, to come and be with us here today. And I want to call the spirit of the below, the spirit of the womb, or the mama womb, that bring life into being. And I want to call the spirit of the center, the spirit of the heart, that beat in each of us, the same heartbeat, the heartbeat of Pachamama, or Mother Earth, to realize that we are all beating the same heartbeat, that we are all the same, that we are all one, and to honor it. Aho.
So appreciate it. Toda rabah. Beautiful. And wouldn't you know it, your prayer and blessing invoked Chief Phil Lane. So what could be better than a double blessing to start this
Oh,
evening? So,
absolutely,
but
absolutely.
if you would, please stick around so you can do what we originally discussed,
Of
because
course.
it would be lovely and we'd be honored to have you close with your ceremony as well.
And
Okay?
I would give my place for Chief Phil Lane, of course.
Okay.
With a great honor.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So
Well,
thank you again. And Chief Phil Lane, we are always pleased to have you, even if it's moment late. And I was moving along to honor our guests and our audience's time. So if you would please step up to the podium and give us your blessings as well, we'd
well,
be deeply privileged and appreciative.
and also, Brother Mitchell, thank you so much for your dedicated work in continuing this every single honoring of Mother Earth Day. So appreciated, so deeply. And thank you,
Oh,
brother, for
thank
the
you.
opening prayer that you did. I just slipped in here with my son's help.
I
Brother,
understand that.
see Brother Patrick here and all the other relatives on this beautiful day.
Indeed.
Little prayer here to add on. Otakashlawakantaka, Creator of the universe, most beloved one, all powerful one, most kind one, most compassionate one, ever forgiving one. O Ancient of Days, O Blessed Beauty, we call upon your holy power that sustains, inspires, creates, moves all forward in a good way. That holy power, that Holy Spirit to inspire each and every one of us as we move forward on this beautiful day that we're honoring our beloved Mother Earth. And we give thanksgiving, as my dear brother before me, to all the tribes and nations of the east, from where comes the red sunrise, the south from where comes new life, the west from where comes thunder, lightning, and rain, the north from where comes the white snow. They might all come together as one human family of which we are, understanding the prior unity and oneness of our human family, understanding the hurt of one is the hurt of all, in the honor of one, the healing of one, the upliftment of one is the honor, healing, upliftment of all, creator of all good things. We just ask for those that understanding to go to the depths of our heart so we realize we're all indigenous people of this Mother Earth. We're all members of one human family, creator of all good things. And to be able to end war forever, to unify our human family, to restore our Mother Earth, creator of all good things. And so on this day, we especially want to remember all those representatives of our beloved Mother Earth, life giver, all members of our uh, all our sisters and mothers and aunts and uncles, all womankind, aunties and grandmothers and mothers, all of womankind, and ask, Creator of all good things, that the eagle of humanity, male, female, that eagle may have equal power and respect and honor of each of its wings, so it might fly to its highest that it can fly, creator of all good things. And we might understand that all of us, each of us is a sovereignty, ancient and perishable and everlasting, that each one of us has a sacred soul, and that when we leave this world, we to know and understand our soul has no ethnicity, has no gender, has no class, has no race. Our soul is a reflection of the oneness of our Creator, which makes every form of prejudice, no matter what it is, completely unacceptable. And Creator of all good things, we ask especially this day, as we pray, that all these wars that are going on in Mother Earth, all these loss of life, all these children who are dying, elders who are dying, all the human beings, our relatives who are dying, that might end, Creator. That might end, Creator, for we're killing ourselves. And so we ask, Creator of all good things, finally, that we might balance the extremes of wealth and poverty so that every human being is given the basics they need to live and to prosper and to have education, clean water. Oh, we ask that those that have more that they can share, that their hearts will change, Creator. So we know that none of this is going to be done through force. It's going to be through the love that you have given to each and every one of us. So, Creator, we just give you thanksgiving in this matter and say this prayer for unity. O my God, unite the hearts of thy servants and reveal unto them thy great purpose. May they follow thy commandments and abide in thy law. Help them, O God, in their endeavor and grant them strength to serve thee. O God, leave them not to themselves, but guide their steps with the light of knowledge and cheer their hearts by thy love. Verily, thou art their help in the Lord. O Creator, refresh and gladden our spirits, purify our hearts, illumine our powers. We lay all our affairs in your hands. You are our guide and our refuge. We will no longer be sorrowful and grieved. We will be happy and joyful beings. O Creator, we will no longer be full of anxiety, nor will let trouble harass us. We will not dwell on the unpleasant things of life. O Creator of all good things, we dedicate ourselves to thee. You are more friend to us than we are to ourselves. Haole chante washtelo, shinkmano he meado, shinupasapa meado, haole chante washte. Aho. And for everybody, may we have a great Mother Earth Day, and may this next year till this coming time be better and better. Aho.
Aho. Chief Phil, thank you so much, dear friend and brother. I always appreciate your words of wisdom and your blessing and your prayers. You have beautifully, with Itzhak, opened up our event today. So
Thank you
God
so much.
bless
Thank you so much. And I
you.
was supported with that beautiful prayer before mine. It got me going. And so
We're
many
feeding each other.
more coming. There's more coming.
There's more coming. Exactly. In fact, a very another dear brother of yours and mine is coming next, and that's Patrick McCullum, founder,
Good.
founder and president of the McCullum Foundation for Peace. Just a quick word about Patrick. He was inspired by the Great Mother to promote a sacred universal vision that respects religious and cultural diversity. Patrick is an interfaith chaplain, a spiritual mentor, and a peace counselor. He was recently featured in a wonderful film. I'd strongly recommend that you see, if you haven't, and even if you have, see it again. The Man Who Saved the World. Patrick, welcome to A Better World's Earth Day.
Well, welcome to everyone here and my special brother, Chief Phil. He and I are very special brothers together. Um, Earth Day is a special day for everyone and should be because our planet is our home and our mother. But for me, I have a very special connection to it that not everyone knows. And that is that I was one of the original people that helped create Earth Day. And so I want to share just a little bit about how that happened. This is over half a century ago. And myself and a number of other planetary activists, all of us very young, heard that they were going to cut a whole part of a forest. In particular, it was on sacred land for the indigenous people in the area. And so we got a bunch of us together, about 20 of us, and we chained ourselves to trees to make sure that they could not cut the trees down with chainsaws. And the loggers and people came, and some police and a bunch of public and such came, and the press came, and they brought bolt cutters and they just cut the chains off of us. But we grabbed onto the trees and hung onto them, and it took like 5, 6, 7 people to pull us off the trees. The next day in the newspaper, it spoke about us being there and it called us tree huggers. And that term became the singular term for people who defended nature and the planet for decades. A tree hugger, someone like everyone on this gathering here today, someone who cared enough about nature to be able to chain themselves to a tree or try to protect that which was really sacred. And right after we did that, there was a senator, his last name was Nelson, I think it was Gaylord Nelson, if I remember right, who heard about us and was really inspired and was looking into what had happened. And right at that time, there was an oil spill in Santa Barbara, in the beautiful waters off Santa Barbara. And it just moved him to do something about it. And so he went to Congress and he proposed that we create a special day called Earth Day to all of us focus on protecting our home and our planet. That's how Earth Day started. And I'm really pleased to be one of the few people alive today that were one of those original tree huggers. And while it became kind of a negative way, when the people who were trying to exploit the planet would say they're all tree huggers, meaning something negative, like, people who are like stupid and trying to save the planet. I'd also like to share that today I'm still trying to do that, as I'm sure all my friends who are on this particular Zoom are today. I'm currently running one of the largest projects in history to save the Amazon. And I'm doing that by bringing together indigenous peoples all across the Amazon and trying to help unite them with one another to help stand against the people who are trying to destroy the Amazon. Because I believe that the Amazon, if it goes down, takes all of us down, because it provides a huge amount of the oxygen that we breathe, and almost a third of it has been destroyed so far. And if you don't know it, something I learned while I was in this process, a huge amount of the fresh water that we all drink across the entire planet comes from the Amazon. And people say, well, how's that possible? Like, does the river somehow run to California or to the high mountains in Nepal? And no, what happens is the Amazon has the only place on the world that has this unique sequence of events. There's the huge river, one of the biggest rivers in the world, and then there's a rainforest. And the rainforest, particular foliage there, sucks the water up from the river and turns it into a mist, actually emits it as a mist. And because it's right on the equator, it rises up, gets caught in the jet stream, and it rains in Poland or rains in California or in Nepal or in Europe. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. So it's very important on this special day to remember that the whole Earth and all the interacting systems on the Earth are keeping all of us alive, and that we have to protect those systems and protect our mother, because if any part of those systems begin to break down, then we all go down. And as my dearly beloved partner and closest friend, Jane Goodall, who just passed away, said, we're all in this together. This is our mother, and there's no other one. And I just finished with that. So thank you very much.
Patrick, thank you. I love the work that you're doing in the Amazon and, well, everywhere, because you have done peacemaking efforts everywhere. And I will speak on behalf of humanity. Thank you. We really appreciate it. We need to step it up, however. There's some trouble over there in the Middle East. So let's see what we can do. But what you're doing in the Amazon is on so many levels, from the confluence and synergy you're bringing together, which you talk about, of course, in the film, of indigenous peoples that have been separated for so long. You're bringing them together as you are, is one level of the magnificent work. And the other, of course, is the earth herself, of helping to reforest one of our most precious forests on the planet that gives us our oxygen. I don't know, I say to people, what do you think about having a planet without oxygen? I don't think that's going to go so well. So in that way, I hope to inspire others to, take up the mantle and be a part of the solution. So thank you very much, my brother, for the good work and coming and joining us today.
Thank you. And I just want to say my brother Phil, who opened here, has partnered with me in much of this work. And so many of us are working together toward the same goal.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I think it could be said safely that everyone who is speaking this evening, even our musician, is involved in one way or another of contributing love and heart and other practical things as well to the planet. I think it's all practical. Nothing feels practically better than being loved, for instance. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is another dear friend of mine, Richard Lackey. Such an interesting man. I learn more and more about him every time we speak. He has been on once before a few years back. Richard is the founder and chairman of the World Food Bank, which is using regenerative farming as a tool for building a middle class of farmers all across of Africa. As a serial entrepreneur, he uses his business skills to assist and educate those interested farmers in using natural methods to farm and to develop their communities. Richard is also an author and is completing his latest book called Regenerative Capital, which I am eager to get my hands on. So, Richard Lackey, please speak with us a little bit about the work that you're doing, the World Food Group, and your book, your latest book.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I'm honored to be here. Quite a tough act to follow. Goodness gracious. With Itzhak and Chief Phil Lane and Reverend Column, I'm just blown away, quite frankly. Um, so I think we're at a tipping point in a positive way. The momentum seems to be increasing for people that are starting to recognize that we are not outside influencers, and our place is not to be outside influencers, but to be integrated partners. And the more that we see ourselves in the place of being more than just stewards, and there is a certain responsibility that comes with being human, but there's a capacity to do even more. And in the same way that we have been able to catalyze great damage, we can catalyze great good. But it comes from, instead of being an outside influencer, from realizing that we're an integral part of um, what nature beholds. And when we become a part of um, that natural ecosystem, the system seems to work more effectively. And so, to whatever part, whatever piece people come to play in that, um, my hope and prayer is just what you guys have shared prior, which is that we learn our place in that space, and we're glad in it, that we're excited to be a part of something so amazing.
I
And
appreciate that, Richard. May I just guide you in the direction of giving us a little taste of what you're doing with the World Food Bank, because this is
sure,
profound work. It's both a combination of education through the TV show in Uganda, as well as hands-on work in the field, literally, of the farmers and teaching them a particular method known as
mm,
regenerative farming. If you wouldn't mind
sure,
taking a moment to share with us
sure,
some of this work.
absolutely. Well, we worked for a number of years trying to teach people individually or in small groups the techniques that we wanted them to practice for regenerative agriculture to help increase the production of crops that they grew that had more nutrition, but also increase the soil biome structure so that the soil was full of more and more life, and which would mean that the water was cleaner and that the ecosystems would operate more effectively and efficiently. But we realized that if we could spend millions of dollars, as we were per year, training tens of thousands of people, but we really weren't going to make a dent in it training tens of thousands of people. To really have impact, we need to reach millions. And now we realize we need to reach not even tens of millions, we need to reach hundreds of millions of people. So we came to recognize that media was a component of that we had to include media, and we had to include it on a regular basis. Just showing a movie was not enough. People would go out rubbing their chin, saying, "That was really interesting. We should do something." And 3 weeks later, they've forgotten about it until someone else saw that movie again. So we realized that one is we can use more and more of those movies, but we need something on a regular basis every week, giving people insights and advice and encouragement on what they could do and how they could do it to be a part of an ecosystem that was more eco-friendly, how they could be a buyer of those products that came from people using those practices, how they could employ those practices in their own gardening and their own farming and what have you. And as we started to do this, we realized that as you build that ecosystem, you can start creating demand, but then people want demand and the product's not available where they are. So what greases the wheels of that ecosystem is finance. We need the dollars to be in alignment with that model. And so um, I grew up in the days where in university they taught, some of you guys may remember this, they taught just-in-time manufacturing processes. You want just enough product to make just what you need to produce just what's going to be sold in the next week or two. And we realized during COVID that that's actually not the most efficient system. If you don't have enough extra and you don't have more than one supplier, then I think the technical term is toast. you are in trouble. And so we realized that actually having an abundance in a number of different places and a decentralized model was actually more efficient than in many ways and more effective and more sustainable than just a centralized model. So we needed more people doing more things in more distributed ways. And the finance books that are out there, those that teach university students and most of the major universities, don't really teach that. So I spent a few years working to write a book called The Introduction to Regenerative Finance. And it will probably have a different title elsewhere, but it's originally been designed um, to be a tool to teach university students how do we build financial models that create that recognize all seven forms of capital. They understand natural capital and economic capital and spiritual capital. And we go through each one of those and how do you analyze those and how do you qualify and quantify those so that we can actually measure those and put metrics to them. And ultimately, the goal is to have people coming out with an understanding, just like they would look at a merger and acquisition. They can look at a piece of land or business opportunity and say, how does this vertically integrate? What's the impact that this has on where I'm sourcing it from? Go all the way back to where I source it, and then go all the way back to who's using it, and then go all the way around the circle again and say, is this helping the wheel move uh, towards a more formidable ecosystem? Is the ecosystem going to be better by this wheel turning, or is it creating tracks that are going to be troublesome? And there are a lot of examples in there, and we use the reintroduction of wolves in Yellowstone. We talk about the fellow who spoke recently at MIT, sharing about he came in 15 years ago and spoke at a TED Talk and shared on his concept of we need to have more bees. The bees are dying. We have all of these honeybees are dying everywhere. We need bees on top of buildings, bees in your backyard. And he didn't realize, because he didn't look at the entire ecosystem, that there are a lot of other animals that are in the same space. It's not just the Hymenoptera. There are other animals. There are moths and a dozen others that actually carry pollen from plant to plant. And if we have too many bees, we now create competition for the moths. And then the moths started dying and other things started dying because we put ourselves in the middle of a system we didn't fully understand. So a big part of what it is and what people like Reverend McCollum spend time doing, spend entire lives doing, and Mr. Beery as well, is understanding how do we actually merge with nature? How do we actually work? And I was in medicine for many years, and the old saying and the first saying of all those who practice in medicine, the Hippocratic Oath, is first do no harm. So before we get to be very active, it helps if we will just stop and look and perhaps listen and talk to the local people about what has worked and what hasn't worked and find out why the water runs differently now than it did many years ago. There's a reason that rivers have turns in them. There's a reason that banks flood and other banks don't. There's a reason that some banks have grasses growing on them and others don't. And let's see what that is. And having been in the finance world for many years, one of the sayings that we have for traders is it's not the data, it's the delta. It's not the data right now, it's the rate of change. It's how has it changed and why did it change? And let's analyze the change. And if we do that, we can find profit, whether that profit is in the form of new trees growing and bees, bats, bugs, and butterflies, or whether that's in the profit of the markets. It's the same principle. So my hope and prayer is that we're going to do two things in the next year is we're going to increase the number of people that are watching TV shows. We've now launched what has 14 million viewers in Africa into the US. And we had a couple million viewers last year, and we're expanding into new networks with a TV show called Farm Hero. And we're hoping to launch a full series for Garden Hero, Homestead Hero, and others. And we include folks that are doing farming with regenerative practices to show not only why it's important, but to show those who are buyers in the market why they should move in that direction so we can start getting the dollar pulling those people to change the way that they practice. And the second is that we want to get those who are providing the education and the inputs for finance to understand that there's a different way to do financial models. So that's kind of the quick summary. Thanks, Mitchell, for the opportunity.
Absolutely, Richard. Thank you so much for all of the amazing work that you've been doing on the ground, we're combining heaven and earth, our ideal aspiration of what our world can look like, with the practical tools that people like yourself are bringing to the table, to the forefront, for people who, especially who have been so depleted by the standard, kind of, if you will, imperialist model, the colonial model, that you are giving them a chance to rise up and retain and regain their sense of dignity after so many years of oppression, is something of immense beauty, and we're all deeply grateful for it. So thank you again, Richard Lackey.
Well, thank you. And I see Hunter is on here as well, and she's one of my heroes. I don't have a poster on my wall, but I will, and I expect her to sign it in the next visit.
Well, you're not alone. In fact, it's no mistake that Hunter Lovins is speaking next after a brief introduction, which is very difficult with her because I could go on for a long time, speaking of her strengths and her accomplishments. Hunter Lovins is the president and the founder of Natural Capitalism Solutions, which is a nonprofit organization. She's a renowned author and champion of sustainable development for over 35 years. Hunter has consulted on business, economic development, sustainable agriculture, energy, water security, and climate policies for scores of governments, communities, and companies worldwide. That is just one paragraph of what could be pages and pages about Hunter Lovins. She was a guest on A Better World after she wrote one of her numerous books. Oh God, 10 or 15 years ago at this point, maybe more. So Hunter, it's such a pleasure to have you back.
Mitch, thank you. It's truly an honor to be here with such a great group of people and honoring our Earth, the only place in all the universe that we know of that can sustain life. I was just with Sylvia Earle, who showed a picture of Earth and then Mars and said there are people who aspire to go to Mars. She said she had a short list of people she would invite to go there. But she said she wishes them luck. And then went into describing all it is that we have here that we take for granted. Simply the ability to breathe air and the fertility of soil, the services that intact ecosystems give to us that are on no one's balance sheet, but without which you cannot have an economy. And Richard, you're my hero. I was just a week or so ago writing up what you have done with World Food Bank for this farmer MBA program that we're working on. And in fact, I would love to send it to you and make sure that I've got it right before this thing actually gets published. But what Richard is doing in some of the most difficult places in the world to work is blessings on you, and thank you for all that you do. Mitch, you asked me to talk a bit about the work that I've been dragooned into of late. Yes. Frankly, I was going to quit. A couple of years ago, I asked myself, you add up everything I've ever done, people go on and on about what I've done. If I were any damn good, we'd have solved these problems.
Yeah, we all feel that way, Hunter.
But I said, you add it all up. Is it enough? No, we're losing. Do I know what enough is? No. Then why go down the road? Why burn carbon? I'm coming to you tonight from a hotel room in Dallas, Texas. I'm here speaking at EarthX, and which is an amazing combination of some very interesting people like Sylvia, and then some very strange people like some of the finance people. I suppose I shouldn't say that, but
thanks a lot.
Sitting there
That's not excluding Richard, please.
Well, Richard's doing finance regeneratively. There is a difference. These
Oh
guys
boy.
were talking about how many tens of thousands of dollars a day they're making. It's like, I have a better use for that than anyway.
Yes.
So
Well said.
I went on one last trip before I hung up my spurs and met a man, very senior UN official. Richards met him, who said the UN can never solve the problems facing the planet, particularly not climate. And he's right. That's the pin from Kyoto. That was COP3. This is the pin from Belém. That was COP30. This is 30 years of talk.
Oh.
And in that time, emissions have doubled. And we are now seeing the world around, the consequences of what we humans are doing to derange the climate. And he said, in governance, in international law, when governments fail, power reverts to the sovereign, the people. He said, what we need is not conferences of parties, COPs, but conferences of people independently organized. He calls it COPX. And you can find out more about this, www.copx.global. And he pitched me on this, and I thought, wow, that would be enough. And then I thought, it's too big. I've no earthly idea how to do it. And so I shrugged. He kept at it. And in due course, he said, join me. He said, I have to stay in the shadows with the UN. His day job is keeping alive 1/3 billion people. But he said, please be the face of COPX. It's like, me? So my day job now is trying to create a global people's movement to solve the climate crisis from the bottom up by empowering people everywhere to implement the known solutions. Because we do know how to solve this. You couple regenerative agriculture, taking in fact, I was just given the elephant in the room. This is the trillion tons of carbon that are in the atmosphere now, the legacy of human burning of fossil fuels. Regenerative agriculture can take that out if we stop emitting more of it. So couple that with the now available forms of renewable energy, and we can solve the climate crisis in the lifetime of people alive now. I was this afternoon with a bunch of young people who said, can it be done? And I said, yes, we know how to do it if we do it together. And people say, but what can I do? I'm just one person, said 8 billion people. If we do this together, each community in its own way, not me or anyone saying, you have to do this, go do that, but saying to them, how would you begin to fix the problems in your community in your own way? And we're doing it. We now have more than 1,000 COPX organizers in 57 countries. So I will say the same thing to you that the ambassador said to me, join us. And together we can build the greatest tribute to our Earth.
Oh God, I love this, Hunter, and you are the one to be leading this this endeavor, really. So I'd be honored to help you, as I told you when we spoke recently, and I want to learn what that means. And we will do a podcast on this subject so we can really broadcast it out to many, many more people and give you some wind under your sails, as you so well deserve. And
Thank you.
I just want to also just thank you for the stunning work that you have done. And so much of this work is, the unsung hero behind the scenes. And even though you're more public and all that, still in all, there's work that you've done that no one knows about that is instrumental in moving this game that we're playing forward in protecting the earth. So this is a moment that I can just publicly thank you on behalf of, well, all my brothers and sisters. Okay, everyone. I hope you are enjoying this as I am. I tell you, I get so enriched. Why do I do these? Lots of reasons. I'm not going to go into that. But I will say that one of the reasons is for my own learning and my own sense of expansion from seeing what so many wonderful people are doing across the planet. So this is a moment where we can take a breather, and Pramik Russell Tubbs, who is a renowned musician, jazz, pop, rock, who's played with greats Carlos Santana, Whitney Houston, Ravi Shankar, Mahavishnu Orchestra, for those of you who remember them, John McLaughlin. And he's going to come, and afterwards we'll be joined by Deborah Garcia, Coons Garcia. So stay tuned. Pramik, are you there?
Very much so, and it's a joy and an honor to be with all of you tonight and our invisible audience out there. And I've been a part of numerous wonderful activities to help our dear Mother Earth, including one particular event which has repeated itself at Carnegie Hall a number of times, which is Sting's Concert for the Rainforest. And it's a very, very special event that I became a part of back in 2008, even though it started years before that. And it's just a who's who of amazing celebrities that have taken part, including surprise visits by Bruce Springsteen and, so many other greats. So it's been a true honor to be a part of those events. But tonight I'd just like to offer a few moments of music for peace. And I'd like to start by ringing this very, very special Tibetan bowl of peace, which was given to me by a very special friend who himself went to Nepal to find these sacred bowls to increase one's vibration, give a feeling of inner peace. And so I'm going to ring this bowl, and then I'm just going to launch into a bit of the invocation of peace with my bass flute, and also play a bit of a background track that was used for our album I produced with my wonderful soulmate Margie Minier called Oneness World. And so just everyone go deep within, feel yourself sailing down a river of peace as we begin this short little journey.
Dear brother,
Thank you all.
thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Awesome. I recently had the pleasure of attending a concert in New York City, not far from where I live, that Pramik was putting on, and it was just awesome to hear you then and to hear you now. It's uh, it's a great blessing.
Thank you all. Thank you for having me here. It's really an honor to be with you all. Thank you.
So
We'll
glad,
see
so
you all a
glad.
little bit later.
Okay, exactly. Later on. Our souls are enriched in so many ways from the beautiful words of our guests, as well as the magnificent playing of our dear friend Pramik and the wise words of our indigenous leaders and shamans. So, Pramik, thank you again. Next, we have another just favorite woman of mine. I really, by the way, sought to have more women this year because it just is the time of the divine feminine. And I just think it's so important. Women's voices have been way too long oppressed and suppressed. And I wanted to make a particular point of having more than we have had in the past. Unintentional, but I was very pleased to be able to reach Hunter and Deborah this year for this year's event. So, on that note, I'd like to bring forth a very special woman I spoke of before, Deborah Kunz Garcia, who is a well known artist and a renowned filmmaker, director, and producer, having made several acclaimed films, including but not limited to The Future of Food, which became extremely well known, as did Symphony of the Soil. I met her just after Symphony of the Soil was released, and I had the pleasure of interviewing her about it. And it's one of those songs that, can I put it this way, wormed its way into my soul because I became more familiar with the power of the worm and all of the wonderful microbes that we find in our soil. So I have Deborah to thank for that. Deborah, please speak with our audience. Love to have you here.
Thank you, Mitchell. Thank you for inviting me. I've really enjoyed what people have had to say, and I'm looking forward to what everyone else has to say on Earth Day, which is I'm here. I'm in California, and we've had a really good rain, a really good late rain here, which is wonderful for us. So I feel like that's a positive sign coming from the
Sure.
Earth. Yeah, I am a filmmaker. That's what I do. I direct, write, and produce. And I started making films in 1970 when I was in college. And that's the same year that I became aware of food and how important it was. And I became a vegetarian and I felt so much better. And I started seeking out organic food and really understood how important that was and the consequences of choosing a certain kind of food or diet as opposed to just kind of going along with what was being offered then. And so I always had in my mind that I wanted to make films about a film about food and organic food and how everyone should eat that and farm that way. And I was kind of evangelical about it. And I made other films. And then in the year 2000, I realized that there weren't any really good comprehensive films about the food system. And so or the two different food systems, sort of organic food system and then the chemical commercial food system. So I thought someone who knew how to make films should make a film about it. So I figured that person was me. So I did, and I didn't know if anybody would want to see it. But it turns out many, thousands, millions of people wanted to see it. and Netflix was just starting. They called up my office after the film was done, and they said, we want to buy 8,000 DVDs. Those were DVD days, which was great for filmmakers because you could sell your DVDs. Now you have to stream it. Then you could do a screening. You get $20, $20, $20. So those were the days. So they wanted 8,000. They came back, another 8,000, another 8,000, another 8,000. And the film had just been out a short while. So I thought, this is a good sign. And it did really well. And one of the things I was trying to do when I told my editor, Vivian Hillgrove, who's just a genius editor, she's edited most of my films, all my films in the last 20 years. And I said, Viv, we're going to make a film about the food system. And she said, oh, no festivals will show it. No one will be interested. We have to do personal story films because that was the thing back then. And I said, wait, we have to make it everyone's personal story because everybody eats. And so we did, and it premiered at Film Forum. It played in some good festivals. It played at Film Forum in New York, and people loved it, and then IFC in New York, which is another really good film theater, called me up and said, can we go over and get everyone loves this film. Can we go over and get the film, the 35 millimeter films, and bring it over and show it there? So they showed it. And what I try to do in my films, as opposed some filmmakers, there's this tendency which I find really annoying, is they have a celebrity saying, do this because I say so, and that's better than nothing, but what I think is important is to give people a deep understanding of how things work. Therefore, they want to eat a certain way, or farm a certain way, or practice a certain kind of law, or write about certain things. So a deep inspiration that can change how people see the world, I think, is what interests me. So that film, my goal was to take these little sort of pods of interest, which would be like Berkeley snobby food and beans and rice people and the activists and the farmers and the lawyers and the academics, and bring them all together and kind of tell this story about how do you grow food and what are the consequences of growing food this way rather than that way? What are the consequences to genetic engineering and Monsanto, which was, the big villain then and still is, although it's got a different name, buying up the seed supply and patenting it and all these things that no one was aware of. I wasn't aware of it, and I was an organic fanatic. And somebody said to me, you know about genetic engineering? I said, I know what it is because I was living in San Francisco when they invented it. And they said, well, they're genetically engineering seeds and they're patenting them and they're buying up seeds. I said, why don't I know this? I'm living in Marin County, eating organic food. So that was one of the reasons I made the film. It did very, very well. And I was happy with it, made a lot of money, for a documentary. And I did great things that showed at good theaters. And I did a lot of community screenings. I did a anti-GMO, this no GMO Maine, set up a barnstorming tour where I did 7 screenings and 7 nights in Vermont, and then 7 screenings and 7 nights in Maine. And it was fantastic at churches and, some people's barns and real theaters and all kinds of things, which I love. I love bringing together all these different elements, and then people can be on the same page. That, and also the other big film I made, Symphony of the Soil, people would have these screenings and it would bring together the community. I would do the screening and I would do Q&A, but then they would have a composting group, or they would have organic farmers that had CSAs, or they would have, academics, or you could take a class. And it was, I just was so happy because everything I had wanted to happen happened. And then that did so well. I made Symphony of the Soil because I thought that was the next. And back when I made The Future of Food, no one was really giving people an understanding of we should have organic food. You should eat this way. And people were saying it, but the general public wasn't getting that idea. So I tracked down the people at Whole Foods, Walter Robb and forget the guy who owned it, who started it. And I said, you should see this film is important. And they saw it and they said, you're right. So they made all the Whole Foods carry it right, and they carried it right next to the cash register. So that was great. And then that helped them because everybody in those days, they had a real mission. So then I thought the next level is, so I thought I really kind of brought that message to a much wider audience. And once you know that, even though the world has changed, my thing about, and I call it organic because I think regenerative is important, but there's some people now doing chemical farming and they're calling it regenerative because they use Roundup Ready seeds and therefore you don't have to plow as much. And that's not it. That's bullshit. Well, they should use it should be bullshit instead of what they're doing. That's what
Real
they should
bullshit.
real bullshit. So then I thought I wanted to do so that kind of helped bring lots of different kinds of people together and allowed people to meet in a sense of community and get all excited about it. People would do community screenings and we told them how to do it, and they had templates for doing posters. So it was really fun. It was the first time that had really happened. Now well, it was common for a while. Now, because of the internet, it's just a little more complicated because everything has to be, people want to see it on their computer instead of going out and being in a group. But the good thing is people had to go out to see it then, unless, they had to do that and to really see it, and then they could get a DVD. But that was part of the fun thing. So then I decided to make a film about soil. And that was fascinating because I thought most people are soil blind and they needed to become soil conscious. And that was exciting because the film turned out to be really good. I wanted to be more artistic, I wanted it to be like Symphony of the Soil. And I told my editor, Vivian, I told the composer, Todd Buckelhead, I said, symphony, I really mean it, themes, big music, so people can close their eyes and listen to the film and be moved by it. And that film did really well. It was nominated for a National Emmy. It was New York Times Critics' Pick. I've showed these films at many universities, land grant universities, Ivy League universities, and that film, 350 teaching or institutions like universities have used it as part of their classes. And I showed it at the UN on World Soil Day, which began the UN Year of the Soils, of which the film was an official part. So it showed all over the world. So I was, of course, thrilled with all this, that it was getting the message out. And then I did some short films called Sonatas of the Soil. And so that was a really interesting film because once people start thinking about food, they need to understand that about soil, that soil is a precious resource, and that we are depleting our soils. There's lots of things that I know people here are all aware of. And I think that that worked too, because people became very, they'd want to go out and so I saw the film, but I wanted to come and dig up my yard, dig up my grass and plant things. I said, well, just hold on, okay, good. Maybe figure out exactly what you want to plant first. So that I was very, very happy with that film, and it's it's artistic, it was very
it's
very
beautiful is what
yeah,
it is.
it is. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was really happy with it, and yeah, the future of food. We had our first public screening was kind of the big first screening at the Castro Theater, and so I'm just going, Alice Waters, whom I know, introduced it, and Michael Pollan was on the panel. That was before he'd done Omnivore's Dilemma, so like I kind of knew him when, So we had all the Ignacio Chapela, so we had this wonderful, and it was sold out. There were like 2,500 people there, and I was so excited because that was the first public screening, and there was a line going down the street, people trying to get in. And I thought, I have to remember this. I remember this when I get down about things. So Symphony of the Soil, as I said, did very well, and I showed it at Iowa State. Iowa State invited me to show films there like 3 or 4 times, and that's like the big bear of land grant universities, and Iowa, chemical agriculture, and so that was also going to these different universities and having to stand up with people who who see things in a different way without trying to alienate them, trying to convince, well, just letting them know that they can go back to what farmers did for thousands of years, which is cover crops and crop rotation, these things that farmers used to do before chemical agriculture came in. And a lot of farmers, when they farm these certain ways for a long time, these 10,000 acres, they tell me, I used to have this beautiful farm when my parents were farming it, but then now I see, the soil is hard and there are no animals on it, there are no insects, and the deer, you don't see any deer around. And so it's now people are, they're going back to even, and the Symphony of the Soil, the government, the U.S. government, bought a bunch of copies to go to have our I think it's called the Natural Resources Division or something. I can't remember right now. To give to the farmers in these different parts of the country that they give advice to let them know that, just to show them that they can go back and use other, with all this thing now, not being able to get fertilizer, so all these farmers are not going to be able to plant their fields. Well, I have sympathy for them. That's too bad not to be able to do the work that you do. But on the other hand, should we really be farming that way where you have, a multi-million-dollar combine and 10,000 acres and one person? There's lots of great technology now. They have these little robots now that weed, and organic farming. I mean, the difficult thing about organic farming is weeding, and that's what Roundup Ready plants do. You just spray the Roundup on it, everything, it kills everything green. That was what it's first. It kills everything green. Well, why would we want to do that? But if you have these robots, well, they're not actually robots, they're mechanical things, they can weed, So what that would be one use for AI, because I think I'm not convinced AI is going to really solve very many issues. But you can imagine these little creatures saying to program them that this is a bad bug, and this is a weed, and that could really move things forward in a great way, because the farmers I know, are really intelligent, and they do like technology, and they do understand what goes on. They're proactive, which brings me to my current film, which is Agrarian Elders Harvesting Wisdom, which is a film that was shot several years ago. I filmed a week-long meeting at Esalen with 24 of the pioneering organic farmers in the United States and Canada who started farming in the 60s and 70s, even earlier. And it was organized by Michael Abelman, who farms off the coast of Vancouver, and Elliot Coleman, who farms in Maine. And that's not come out yet, because when it was finished, it's being finished now, but there were some challenging years where you really wouldn't want to bring out a film about a bunch of mostly old white male farmers. But now I think we can come back to it, because now there are good old white guys out there. and there were some women too. So that they spoke about their lives, their farming lives, and how much they just loved farming. A couple of them were Vietnam War vets. Only a couple of them came from farming families, but they ended up having a garden, and they just loved it. They loved watching things grow. And all of them had the same experience in the 60s and 70s. They said, and there were some women there too, a couple of women, 3 women. And they said they went to find out some advice, from the government. And they said, you can never make money farming organically. You can't do it. It's nice for your garden, but it'll never be an industry. So just stop. And we don't know what to tell you, but you're not going to make it. And they were like, yes, we can. It really spurred them on to make it work. And it was, so it was very moving to see every single one of them said, well, I'm making it work. And they did. Now it's the fastest growing part of the food system. So that's what I've done. And I think the great thing about being a food active, I'm a filmmaker, but focusing on food and farming and soil and different kinds of agriculture, is that when people see the films, they realize, because there is something they can do. They can choose what kind of food to eat. They can choose what kind of market or restaurant to choose. the choices that they make change the food system. So it's great because you can do it right now. And of course, farming organically is great for climate change, because it brings the carbon back into the soil when you're farming right. So that, it's been satisfying for me because I've seen a lot of changes happen that a lot of us wanted to have happen. And and also, you can't go back. It's like this eating organic food and healthy food and local food and being aware of the consequences of your food choices. It's introgressed into our DNA now. It's inside of us. Once you know that, you can't go back to eating junk food. Almost no one can. They actually can seek it out. And if they don't find it, then they can start a company and make it, or they can find a restaurant and people will go to it, and you can do it on every level. You can do it on the beans and rice people, which I'm kind of like those. You can do it in fancy food in stone barns. I've shot there. I've shown my films there. These, the very high end of it that are, very artistic and, really, highly.
Deborah, I don't want to cut you off, but I do
Okay.
want to say what you have done in the world of filmmaking and food activism is showing up in our world profoundly. And I think you should be grateful, and we're grateful for what you have done because it has permeated society. Both the films of yours that I'm most aware of and have enjoyed the future of food and Symphony of the Soil in different ways, but both very profound, have affected the consciousness of people, and it has awakened them up to food choices. And very, very importantly, what is our relationship to soil? And
Right.
I have to say that your artistic sensibility came through, it shone through in Symphony of the Soil so powerfully. I think about soil in a whole different way, thanks to you and that film. So
Good. Thank you, Mitchell.
you've
Thank you.
made your effect, and we all want to thank you for that.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you.
And so glad that you're here today with us.
Me too. Thanks for inviting me.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Wow, no pun intended, but a lot to digest, eh? Really good stuff. Um, Now another wonderful favorite of mine, Rob DeLate, who's coming on, who is there are some people you don't words just defy. They do not work. But I'm going to give you a few anyway, because he does have a few so-called titles. But here is another man who's down on the ground doing the work that needs to be done. Another one of those great unsung heroes. And Rob is what we call an Earth systems visionary who has worked many years, especially in the region of the Amazon. He is an EU Climate Impact Ambassador, as well as a fellow of the Schumacher Institute and Global Evergreening Alliance. So without further ado, Rob DeLate, let me bring you forward so you can share with us some of the great work that you've been up to all over the world.
Thank you, Mitch. Thank you for having me here, and thank you, everybody. It's great to be among great people. I feel humbled and grateful to be among us. And of course, many of the stories that I hear are very familiar. We're definitely part of a family.
Yeah.
So I'll quickly say something about my journey, because I've been basically aware since I was 16 years old. I'm 70 now, of the large crisis that humanity was running into, and in which we are now in the middle of. It started with limits to growth, which I read at that age. I roamed the world. I lived on 4 continents. And fast forward, basically after having been an entrepreneur in 2007, I sold off my businesses, and since then I've been non-stop busy finding solutions to the climate. And in that search, basically, slowly it emerged that while obviously the planet is warming up, caused by the greenhouse gases, particularly CO2, there was something else that was invisible to the climate narrative. And more and more, I started to understand that the damage that we have brought to the biosphere, with 8 billion of us and our overactive economy systems and the exploitative systems, has actually degraded the cooling capacity of the Earth. This turned into a book called Cooling the Climate, which I co-wrote with Peter Banyard. Peter worked with James Lovelock, the founder of the Gaia theory. And I'm definitely an adept of that theory. And I think many of you are here because we're all talking about Mother Earth as a living being, as a large living superorganism. And we have damaged her metabolisms and her functionality and her possibility to make life thrive on this planet. So I call myself now a climate strategist because then you ask, we're clearly gliding very fast and accelerated into the abyss. And let's always remind Mother Earth will be just fine. It's about us and our children that basically we are fighting for, to give them a future that's worth living, if livable at all. And during this period, I really realized that one of the reasons why the panic about climate change is so subdued is simply because it's so large. And it's so difficult to wrap your head around it. But our models now say, and we've been working with actuaries who do this kind of risk modeling, that if we go on like this, in a couple of decades, it's likely the population of the Earth, and with that the GDP, will have halved because of the accelerated extreme weather events and heating up of the planet. Complete, total catastrophe. So then you ask, where do you start to stop this? Because basically, there's millions and millions of us who are working, trying to stop this and turn this immense ship around. And like people earlier here, I came to the Amazon. In fact, the Amazon came in a dream to me, basically telling me that that is what I should do. And if you look at the Amazon, you hear quite often, and rightfully so, that it produces a lot of oxygen. But also today we heard, rightfully so, that it produces a lot of water. And in that water, in that rainmaking capacity, it actually cools the Earth. And the total cooling capacity of the Amazon rainforest is so large that if you take it away, we would probably add another 2 degrees centigrade on top of the current models. And it's at the tipping point, because that rainmaking mechanism that is sustained by the trees who push up water through to their leaves and then evaporate it through their leaves, and that makes clouds and rain. The more you take away, the weaker that system gets, and the weaker that system gets, the less rain there is, the more drought there is, the more trees die, and it's a self-reinforcing feedback loop, and we're basically in it. So I then asked myself, how the hell can we turn this around? There's thousands of organizations trying to do something about it, and still it's going the wrong way. And the idea was very simple, and that's what I'm now. I'm by the way, I'm in Colombia right now to talk to organizations. And the idea is actually, why don't we pay and reward everybody in the forest to protect and restore their part of the forest, and where there's open fields, turn that into agroforestry, because agroforestry is multi-level and has the same kinds of hydrology that does the rain making and the cloud forming. So we're building the Arara platform, and the idea is that everybody can come to an Arara shop, and in that Arara shop they show the land that they have. It could be indigenous folks, it could be farmers, and then the software basically shows the model, what the data that we have, what's there now, and how it could be, and how it could improve on that piece of land. And what would be the outcome, not just in ecological sense, like carbon sequestration, better water recycling, cooling, etc., and of course protection of biodiversity, but also outcome in an economic sense. And so the idea is that if we are able to upload pieces of land of millions of people in the Amazon and give them finance to do the transition and improve their income and their well-being, and at the same time improve that part of the forest, then we might be able to pull it back from the brink. And with that, we would have a model to regenerate the earth furthermore, because we have to do this everywhere, but especially in the tropics. Why? Because most sunlight comes in there, and the vegetation that has been evolved over the last 100 million years has exactly evolved in a way to process a lot of heat that's coming from the sun. There's 4 times more sunlight coming in at the equator than at the poles. So the damage to the vegetation, especially there, is most damaging, and reversing it has the largest effect. But that forests cool through their leaves and through the water cycle is slowly percolating in. And there was a study only, I think, 2 years back that showed that in the United States, in the Northeast, where the forests actually grew back, after they were cut down, let's say in the 18th century, etc., that part of the United States has comparatively warmed up 1 to 2 degrees less than the rest of the continent because of the reviving trees. So also the temperate forests are actually cooling and their area. So that's basically what I'm doing. It's a full-time busy trying to work with organizations to roll out this platform and roll out this chain shop of bioeconomic points where they can get finance, information, and plans to improve their land. And well, it's a bit of work. The Amazon, I think most of you here at the panel know, but maybe some people in the audience would not know it. It's the size of the contiguous United States. It's really, really large. It is really the largest cooling organ of the planet. And if we don't save it, and then it will go in dieback, and basically it's show over. And I think that's not what we should do. Thank you.
Rob, thank you so much, my friend. I so appreciate it. I was thinking as you were wrapping up that I was wondering if our technology has advanced far enough that we could clone you. Because we could do with a number more of you, the Congo, the oceans, as well as the Amazon. So, no, play aside. Thank you.
Well, Mitch, if I can just repeat that, the idea is actually that there's about 500 million smallholder farmers and indigenous folks, families around the world, and they are the least appreciated people in the world, and most of them are very poor. So, and they have the capacity to fight the climate crisis more than everybody else. So if we finance them and we empower them, and they would all do everything on their land to improve this, then actually they can get us out of trouble. It's not the billionaires, it's not the white people with in the air-conditioned rooms. It's actually the smallholder farmers that can do the real work, and they should be the real hero of the story.
Oh, God, that is so well put, Rob. That really is. I love it. And well, one of our guests this evening, Richard Lackey, actually knows what you're saying. And in his way, while everyone is doing something in that regard, in their way, contributing, from filmmaking like Deborah to Patrick, who goes down to the Amazon as well and does peacekeeping work and bringing together indigenous nations and more, the Amazon project he's working on. Everyone in their own respective way is doing so much, which is beautiful. Richard, it happens, is very much empowering millions and millions of farmers across all the countries in Africa to do exactly what you're doing. And he's helping to literally build a middle class where people are going from $500 a year to $5,000. And that is a profound difference in their lives and the community, the village and the community. So, but thank you for bringing that to light and all of the great work that you're doing. I look forward to speaking with you soon. Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. Well, we have a few more. We have Jackson Madnick. You want to stay around for him. He's a wonderful, dear old friend and business partner. He's doing great work. And we have our wonderful Pramik, who's going to sing or play, I should say, sing through his instruments one more time. And then we'll have Jackson on right after. And then we will have Itzhak Viri do a closing ceremony. So stay tuned. And Pramik Russell Tubbs, if you would, please grace us with the beautiful music.
Okay. Okay, we are back, and a joy to, as always, to be with you all. And okay, take the echo off for a moment. I exist in the worlds of meditative music as well as jazz and pop and so many other genres because music really is a universal language. But tonight I'm trying to manifest some music for inner peace. And even in the jazz world, there are many, many greats who really stood for peace, like the great saxophonist John Coltrane and many others. And the great composer Horace Silver wrote a beautiful tune simply entitled Peace. It's kind of a gorgeous jazz ballad. So for my final offering, I'd like to dive into that piece and piece of peace. So just everyone breathe, close your eyes, just go into your own deep inner space from which we can manifest our own inner peace to help the outer peace of the world, which is so desperately needed. So enjoy, and see you at the end of the few minutes of journey. Here we go. Okay.
One, two,
Little count off
three.
Woo! Bravo, mi amigo.
Thank you, dear Mitchell. Thank you, dear
Thank you so
friends.
much. Thank you so much. I now understand why Carlos Santana, Whitney Houston, and so many other greats have wanted to play with you for so long. It's
Thank you, dear
overtly
brother.
obvious.
And we thank you for your presence when you came to see our live show as well, and
Of
hope for
course.
much more together.
God bless. Thank you again, Prameek, for
Thank you.
coming and blessing us with your beautiful music. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So we're heading toward conclusion. The last minute, I was able to arrange with my good friend Jackson Madnick to come on and speak a few words about his good work. Longtime environmentalist, water resources and sustainability expert. He's director of Congress of Lakes and Pond Association and the recipient of the 2007 Alt Wheels Regional Environmental Hero Award. And he's really a hero in my life, I'll tell you that. He's also been commended by two White Houses, the Bush and Clinton administrations, by the United Nations, John Glenn, the astronaut, and the National League of Cities, as well as Al Gore and many others over a lifetime of being dedicated to our beautiful planet and making efforts to heal and fix so many of the problems we've had. One of the most recent ways he's been doing that, actually, for the past number of years, and through which I originally met Jackson, is through a company that he founded called Pearls Premium Lawn Seed, which is its own very eco-friendly activity that he'll talk with us about now. So, Jackson, welcome to A Better World's Earth Day. Good to have you on, my friend. Share with us a little bit about what you've done in a little bit. That would take way too long, but what you're doing now to contribute to a better world and our environment. You're on mute, unfortunately. Let us. Can you unmute yourself there, Jackson?
How about now?
Perfect.
Okay. The environment concerns me, and of all the environmental things, water concerns me the most. And I was concerned when I learned that 50% of our clean drinking water is wasted on lawns. Also, lawns contribute, according to NASA, in four different ways to climate change. And also, standard chemical lawns are killing off the pollinators and bees of the world that we need for the food that we exist on and many other things. And because there wasn't anything like a safe environmental grass, I did some research, found out about four of the smartest PhDs in turf science on the planet, and we grew over 10,000 trials, and we found a breakthrough grass seed mixture. And take a step back, we're a 501c3 educational nonprofit, and 100% of our profit goes to different causes having to do with children, animals, environmental education. And every year we give as much grass as we can afford to Habitat for Humanity for a wide range of people and things. And and um, and we created a grass that has many different kind of grass than everything that's out there that grows very slow. So in the grass interacts these seeds in these exact proportions to slow down the growth. So you mow it only once every 4 to 6 weeks instead of every week, and it puts all its energy. And if you don't mow it, it flops over as a 3 to 4 inch high no mow meadow that you never ever mow. But it puts all its energy into the roots rather than the blades of the grass. So rather than growing just 3 or 6 inch roots, it grows 8 foot roots. And the 8-foot roots need 75 to 80% less water, and it goes down, and it also outcompetes most weeds without chemicals. And it turns out that lawn care chemicals are not the number 6 or number 10 toxin in our environment. It's the number 1 toxin in our environment, according to all the experts. And so with this grass, you never ever use chemicals. It outcompetes weeds without chemicals, and it stays green year round. The deep 8-foot roots hold more water, so it doesn't go brown in the heat of summer. The deep roots go down under the frost line, so it doesn't go brown in the winter. You see behind me, this is a typical Pearls Premium lawn. I don't know if you can see up in the corner in the winter, a typical lawn in Texas is brown, or up north, it might be brown in the winter. This stays green year round. It never goes brown, never needs chemicals. And it saves time, money, water, and health. Again, the number 1 toxin in our environment is lawn care fertilizer and the weed and feed products, which you never use with this. And then it also sequesters 12 times the carbon to help lessen climate change. And it produces 24 times the oxygen to create a very enriching, refreshing experience. And right now, we're in over 600,000 lawns in North America, in all states from northern Alaska to the Mojave Desert in Southern California. And our small 600,000 lawns is probably about 1% of the grass in North America. If we could be up to a third of the grass, it'd be equivalent to taking all the cars and trucks off the roads in North America. If 1/6 of the planet's grass was converted to this, the equivalent of creating another South American rainforest. So it's kind of a simple, powerful tool, and to lessen climate change and save water. And again, we need to just get the word out to grow it, and so to speak, grow it, and create deeper roots. And and you don't tear up your existing grass. You put it right over your existing grass and your existing weeds to outcompete the grass and the weeds without chemicals. And it's safer for people, pets, and planet, like my dog Zoe, who highly recommends it and loves this grass. And it's organic, non-GMO, so dogs can nibble on it, and it's very healthy for them, and they can pee on it. It never shows yellow spots because of the deep roots. Dog urine or other animal urine may burn the top 2 or 3 inches, but the rest of the up to 8-foot deep roots is still healthy, so it never shows yellow spots, which is why it's in over 100 dog parks in the country. And this is just a very simple tool, like some of all the other great things that the people in this program are talking about to make a difference in the world. A lot of people say, well, what can I do? I'm just one person. Well, you put the seed right over your existing lawn, and it outcompetes the grass, it outcompetes the weeds, it sequesters carbon, it saves water, it stays green, it's barefoot soft. And
That's
so
wonderful. I so appreciate it. You know, Jackson, you're an example of somebody who saw a problem and said, I can't stand this. I mean, I know what your story is, that you were watching the toxic runoff of water up in your area in Massachusetts, and it upset you so much. You took your life savings and put it into the research needed to come up with this unique combination of native seeds. And, you know, I just think this should be an example for everybody. And along with those 500 million farmers around the world that Rob was referring to, all people who have a lawn in the United States or beyond can be part of the solution as well, even if they're white and suburban. So
in,
it goes far beyond any ethnicity of that sort. or economic level.
And
Why don't you
so
just say,
any of the people on this program, if they
yeah,
want our grass, we sell it at just above our cost. And if you go to our website, pearlspremium.com, if you put in the discount code of ABW for A Better World, you get 10% off, and you're doing your share to make this a better world for people, pets, and the planet.
God bless you. Thank you. And in closing, let's honor your mother. Pearl was Jackson's mother. So she lives on through
She
the
was
walls.
an environmentalist before I learned about Rachel Carson,
See,
and
there you go.
talked to me about
Exactly.
protecting the earth.
Exactly. Thank you, Jackson Madnick, and thank you, Zoe. Everybody, Jackson's fallen in love with your dog. It just took 5 minutes. So thank you so much. So in closing, I just want to say a few words, and then Itzhak will complete us with a final blessing and prayer. I just want to thank all of you for being present today, all of our illustrious speakers, just down to earth, deeply committed, deeply caring people. And I know that there are many of us across the planet, and it's we who are going to be making a difference. And we can do it, as Hunter Lovins was saying before, even at her most discouraged moments, and mine as well. I think we all have been there when we look at administration after administration, promising the world and delivering little, or getting in our way, which many have done. We will not take no for an answer. We're here for the long term, for our children and children's children, and our own spirit that may reincarnate in the future as well. We're not giving up. We're staying the course. And the people tonight who were kind enough to speak here and be present, for all of the people watching on Facebook and then later on our YouTube channel, I so deeply appreciate you all for the good, special work each one of you is doing in your own right. And it all comes together to form a beautiful tapestry that will make, well, a better world. So thanks all for being here. And if you would, Itzhak, escort us out with the beautiful prayer of honoring Mother Earth.
Oyori mieja hawakatita. Oyori mieja hawakatita. Imbabura kotakati buhandita sakwan pagyo. Kanta so, kanta so, kanta so. Oyori mieja hawakatita. Oyori mieja hawakatita. Imbabura kotakati buhandita sakwan pagyo. Kanta so, kanta so, kanta so. Hire, hire, yaku, Pachamama.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Itzhak. Toda rabah. Appreciate it.
You're very
This
welcome.
will be available on our Facebook account as well as on our YouTube channel. If one goes to abetterworld.net, www.abetterworld.net, you can access this whole Earth Day event. Also, I want to say that I'll be in yet another one of my good friend Andrew Kane's on Wednesday, Earth Day itself, and Planet Heart if you go to my website, you will be able to see it, or my Facebook page. So please join us for that one as well. Itzhak, thank you again for doing double time, and thank you all for being part of this
My
evening's
honor, really amazing.
with great blessings.